stakeholders, we thought we needed to come together and ask ourselves a few questions. Would want to share insights, would want to learn from each other, and basically that's why we are here. We want to share insights, learn from each other, and share experiences, because all of us are experiencing more or less the same. Perhaps we have some insights that will be coming in. So in terms of the discussions today, we have 3 key issues that we'll be talking about. And the first one is the impact to the sector. About this one, I think Peter Ndoro, the CEO KEPSA, who is here with us, will be sharing the impact of COVID-19 to the sector. Hello. That's why we are here. We want to share insights, learn from each other, and share experiencing more or less the same, but perhaps we have some insights that will be coming in. So in terms of the discussions today, we have 3 issues that we'll be talking about. And the first one, the impact the sector, and this one I think Peter Ndoro, who is here with us, will be sharing the impact of COVID-19 to the sector. Sorry, I can hear some.
Hi, Moses. I don't know whether someone closer to you is has joined through YouTube. Kindly check whether your YouTube is on.
No, mine is on. Just confirm it.
The echo should be coming from the YouTube. Okay. Moses, hi.
Sorry.
Moses.
Am I audible now?
Yes. I think the echo was coming from one of the participants, and once more, kindly ensure your microphone is muted and your video is switched off. Over to you, Peter. Over to you, Moses. Kindly proceed. And if you don't mind, kindly just switch on your camera.
Sorry, Haggai, for that interruption. I go back to just say why we are here. And I think I started about the key issues that we'll be talking about today. The first one is the impact on the sector, the education sector, and that's why we've invited Peter Ndoro. Peter Ndoro is the CEO, Kenya Private School Association, KIPSA, and will be taking us through that discussion. I think he has a lot of insights in that sector. We'll also be talking about, we'll also be hearing key learnings, both locally and even globally, and that's why we have Sarah from IFC. Sarah has a lot of experience in the education sector. I think, Sarah, when I sent out the communication that you'll be discussing, a number of customers came back saying they'll be wanting to listen to you in terms of sharing the experiences that you have there. And later on, we'll be talking about how your partner, the financial partner, Cooperative Bank, is supporting you. And I'll take us through that session of how the Cooperative Bank is supporting you. I request that we interact, we chat through the chat box, ask questions, and also share your insights. As an investor, you must be having some experiences that you need to share. Please come out and share what you have as an investor. So I would want to invite Sarah. Sarah, before you invite the CEO KIPSA, I would want to invite Sarah to introduce the team at IFC. As I introduce myself, my name is Moses Getao of Cooperative Bank. I'm head of business banking. So, and I support all your needs day to day, all the financial needs of the private schools. I support them from the bank. With me is Peter Ndumia. He's on the call also. Peter is the manager and financial services. Thank you, Peter and Haggai, for arranging this. And let me invite Sarah to introduce the IFC team. Then, Sarah, after you, we would invite Peter Ndoro to now proceed introduce himself and proceed in his presentation. So, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Moses, and good afternoon to all of you who have taken your time away from your busy schedule just to join us this afternoon for us to just put our heads together and really share our experiences and discuss what is the issue at hand. And we are talking about education. I really want to thank Cooperative Bank. Thank you so much for taking this initiative for putting together this very specific, industry-specific kind of a webinar. I know we have had some previously, and we have had maybe a few people asking some questions in relation to education, but they were the minority. But this afternoon, I'm happy that we are the majority. My name is Sarah Mbinji, and I am not alone. You have heard the voice of Haggai. Haggai Ogega is in charge of all the technical aspects of the webinar. So as if you have any difficulties, maybe you can't hear us, or maybe issues with the mics and so on, Haggai is going to be helping us out with that. I also want to introduce Fatma. Fatma, are you there? You are not new. You are not new to this family. Kindly put on your video so that we can see you. There you go. Over to you, Fatma.
Okay, good afternoon, wafanyi biashara. My name is Fatma Elmawi. I am a master trainer with IFC. I'm also not new to Cooperative Bank. I have been working with IFC for over 10 years, assisting SMEs like you to grow your businesses. Karibuni, asanteni. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll talk about some of the projects we were able to do with Fatma. She's not new. I'm sure her face is quite familiar. With that team in place, this is who we call the technical team, myself, Fatma, and also Haggai. Over to you, Peter. Sorry, over to you, Moses.
Hi, Peter. Kindly proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's loud and clear. I've muted everybody. Kindly proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for that. I was having a little bit of a challenge, but now I think I'll be all right. Now, I want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this particular webinar. I'm going to discuss issues that have affected the private sector, specifically the private sector education, in regards to issues of COVID-19. And as it has been said, my name is Ndoro Peter, and Private Schools Association. Now, in as far as this pandemic is concerned, there are issues that I would want to highlight and share with the team about how the basic education sector has been affected, and the experiences that the private schools are going through during this period of the COVID-19. We all know that we have private schools across the country that operate and are registered by the Ministry of Education. So far, we have over 12,400 private schools in Kenya that have admitted over 2.4 million learners across the country. And before the pandemic, private schools had employed directly over 288,000. I'm using the word head employed private schools, not employed at this point in time, had employed over 288,000 teaching and non-teaching staff, and over 400 indirectly in other sectors that range from stationery suppliers, textbook suppliers, transport industry, food suppliers, textile industry, etc., etc. Now, on 13th of March 2020, the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the country. And immediately thereafter, on 15th specifically, the government closed all educational institutions as a measure against the spread of COVID-19. This, I must admit, is the biggest challenge that private schools have collectively faced across the country in recent history. Because all schools, whether big or small, urban or rural, have been affected by the closure of schools as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Private schools, as we all know, depend entirely on school fees paid for by parents when children are in session and in school for their operational support. So when the schools close, of course, private schools find themselves in a very, very difficult place. Now, this particular pandemic has therefore posed major challenges to private schools, and I wish to highlight some of them that have affected a majority of all the private schools. Can I proceed? Hello? Hello?
Yes, Peter, please proceed.
Yes, I can proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. So I want to highlight some of the issues, the major challenges that have affected a majority of the private schools across the country. Number one that I want to start with is the issue of term dates. So far, where we are asking ourselves, and very many private schools and other education sector players are asking themselves, where are we at this point in time in as far as term dates is concerned? Are we in first term? Are we on holiday break? Are we in second term? I would want to answer this by saying and advising our schools that we are not in any of the above. We are not in term one, we are not on holiday, we are not in second term. We are actually in medical crisis break that has not been defined in any policy document, has not been defined in any written law, or even our constitution does not recognize this period when children are at home on a medical crisis break. When we resume schools, where are we going to start from? Where are we going to start? How are we going to go about it? The education stakeholders have had discussions, and it has been agreed that when we resume, we will start from where we left on the 13th of March 2020. So the big question is, what will happen for those who have been engaging on online learning? What will happen? Because during this period, a number of schools have engaged their learners on digital learning. And therefore, when the schools reopen, where are we going to start? We have agreed as stakeholders that yes, for the purposes of bringing everybody on board, our academic calendar will start from where we left when the schools were closed on 13th of March 2020. So the issue of learners who have been engaging in online learning, what will happen to them? Of course, we are saying that they will be revising when other learners will be learning the content afresh. So they will have an advantage. But the most unfortunate bit is that they will start at the same place where they left when the schools closed. Number two, challenge that has affected most private schools is about human resource management in private schools. You know, private schools, as I've said, employ very many staff. Teaching staff of around 156,000, non-teaching staff of over 123,000. And therefore, the issue of managing this critical staff has been a major challenge to us as private schools. KPSA sought an advisory based on our sought an advisory from our HR consultants and the legal minds who are good in labor relations. And we asked them what needs to be done in as far as managing our human resource is concerned during this particular period. Because private schools do not have any resource. We do not get any support from government or any other other than the fees that private schools receive directly from parents when schools are in operation. So we were given 4 options that we needed to advise our schools based on compliance with the law. Because whatever action that we were to take must actually be in compliance with the law. And the first option that we got is that private schools that are able should continue paying their staff as per the contract. This, however, is subject to availability of funds, because there are those that need funds to support their human resource needs, even during this period of the pandemic. So we encourage those schools that are able to do that, and that would have been the best option for private schools. Pay cuts for staff. Because in the event that private schools were unable to pay the full salaries because they do not receive school fees from parents, then of course they have to consider pay cuts if whatever they had was limited. And this option was taken by quite a number of private schools, but unfortunately, this was on the belief that the closure will only take a few months, 1 or 2 months. But now there is a possibility that the closure might take even longer. So that poses another big challenge to private schools. Number 3 on advisory and human resource was about encouraging staff to take unpaid leave. Because this particular option has been taken by very many of our schools. Actually, a majority of our schools has taken this option of asking and encouraging their staff to take unpaid leave. This is because in the absence of resources, then schools cannot continue supporting their human resource function. They cannot be able to meet their obligations in as far as their contractual obligation is concerned. And therefore, the private schools, and within the framework of the law, encouraged and asked their staff to take unpaid leave. And this is an option that has been taken by quite a number of our private schools. Number 4 is about termination of employment. But this one, unfortunately, was only taken where schools were unable to address option 1, option 2, and option 3, the issue of termination. But this has not been pronounced so much in the private sector. And what has been used mostly in private sector is the issue of unpaid leave. Number 3 challenge that has affected private schools is about credit facilities to private schools. You know very well that in the absence of any support from any other source other than fees paid for by parents, private schools have had a lot of challenges, and because of continuous expansion and growth, they have had to take credit facilities from various financial institutions. So as an association, we guided our members on what needs to be done in as far as the credit facility that are taken from financial institutions is concerned. And I'm happy to report that most of the financial institutions, including Cooperative Bank that we approached, agreed to reschedule the credit facilities that have been extended to private schools until when the next school term begins. Our discussion on this was premised on the fact that we could not have given a specific dates without knowing exactly when the next term would begin. Because when we were engaging financial institutions for this particular consideration, we knew very well that when we were to, if we were to open, we would continue from where we left on the 15th of March, complete first term, close, and then prepare for second term. So that's why we asked financial institutions to consider rescheduling the loan and the credit facility to private schools until when the next school term begins. And I'm happy that a number of financial institutions with us on this, and our members have taken advantage of that particular offer. Number 4, and most critical at this point in time, is the challenge of online learning programs and facilitation for the same. KPSA has taken advocacy on this approach as a measure for reopening of learning by trying to address quite a number of issues. Here we are saying, as private schools, we are not looking at reopening of schools, in as much as that is important, but we are looking at reopening learning. And how can we reopen learning without having the physical contact? We can only use technology. So this has its own challenges, but as an association, we are trying to find ways and means through which we can be able to address those challenges. Key among these challenges are availability of appropriate digital interactive content. We know very well that digital literacy program came into the country, was introduced in the country by the Jubilee government, but unfortunately the uptake of the digital literacy program was very low. And therefore we do not have sufficient content to be able to effectively run the entire basic education spectrum. So for us as Kenya Private Schools Association, we are persuading KICD to expedite the approval process of content by the private developers of the same, so that we are able to make it available to our teachers and our learners. Number 2 is about access to affordable and appropriate educational devices. Without a device, online learning will be an exercise in futility. We know very well that in our households, quite a number quite a number of us do not really have sufficient devices or even appropriate educational devices to support online learning. Therefore, what we are trying to do is to find ways and means through which we can be able to access affordable educational devices that are appropriate for our households, learners, and teachers. And we are doing this in partnership with our other partners, together with the government. We're also bringing in the government so that they can be able to assist us, especially on the issue of taxation, so that we can make it affordable. We're also talking about access to internet to support online learning, access to affordable internet. You know very well that at the moment, internet is very expensive, and quite a number of our learners across the country would have a challenge to sustain online for education throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the period that will be on this medical crisis break. So we are engaging several partners to see how best can we access affordable internet specifically for education. And we are happy that we are making progress, that in future, in the very near future, the internet connectivity that will be given to our learners will actually be locked to certain educational content, which will be a very welcome move from these internet providers. We also talk about number 4, access to reliable and affordable source of power supply. Here we are looking at electricity and solar sources, because in the absence of electricity or solar sources, in the absence of power, issues of online learning will be a major challenge for our learners. So we have to address that particular issue so that those who have power, how can we ensure that it is reliable as well? And how can we also ensure that those who cannot be able to access electricity can be able to get power through the solar sources that is available? And for us as Kenya Private Schools Association, we are building a solution that will address all these concerns by engaging the government. We are engaging partners like Microsoft. We are engaging partners like Google. We are engaging institutions. We are also engaging the content developers so that we provide a holistic solution that will enable us to open learning. Because even when the pandemic ends, believe you me, we are not going to do our business as usual. We are going to have a lot of constraints, especially with the issue of social distancing, with the issues of the new normal. We must embrace technology in order for us to deliver adequate and appropriate online. We also have a challenge of school transport. We know very well that a majority of the private schools have invested in school transport that ferry children to and from school. And as such, these vehicles have been lying in their compounds unused. So to cushion our member schools against the huge insurance expenses and mitigate against the negative economic effects faced by our member schools, KPSA has been negotiating for insurance premium discounts for school vehicles for the period the vehicles remain inactive. Because when the vehicles remain parked in our school compounds, the risks associated with the road is eliminated. The risks that remain are probably vandalism, theft, and things like that. But the risk associated with road is eliminated. So we have negotiated insurance companies to mention that we have made significant progress, which we'll be sharing with our members in due course. And this information, once ready, shared with our members. Number 6 challenge that private schools have been facing is about the legal and policy interventions to cushion private schools. And here we are talking about deliberate and targeted interventions to cushion private schools by engaging the National Assembly and the Senate. We know very well that other sectors have been facilitated through legislation and support, like the other day, the finance bill was passed with the support to other sectors of the economy. We are trying to find out what is it that we can be able to do to access support from the National Assembly and the Senate to cushion private schools. So we are engaging them, and we've had a number of engagements between ourselves and the National Assembly on that regard. Again, we are also trying to talk to the Ministry of Education, the Treasury, and the Ministry of Health so that we can have policy interventions that favor private schools so that we are not disadvantaged. Because we all realize if private schools today were to close, that burden will be shifted to the public sector. And again, to do this, we will also need to engage our other partners, the financial institutions like CoBank and the rest, to find ways and means through which we are able to support our schools bounce back once the official reopening is announced. Number 7 challenge that the sector that we are trying to address is the back to school protocols. You know, we know very well that the schools will open. We don't know the date or the time when that will happen. But when that happens, there are certain things that must be done because with this COVID-19, things will not be done as they have always been done. We are going to have a change of ways through which we do certain things. And we want to look at issues of health and safety protocols prior to, during, and after reopening. What is it that we need to do in as far as health and safety protocols are concerned? What do we need to observe? How are we going to monitor the health of our learners, our staff, and any other stakeholder in school? What needs to be done before we reopen? Do we need to build the capacities of anyone? Do we need to link ourselves with any medical facility? Do we need to employ nurses, for example? What is it that needs to be done? And how are we going to do it? That is something that we are working on, and we are going to build the capacities of our directors in as far as that is concerned. Issues of social distancing requirements for schools. How are we going to address the issue of social distancing? We are being told that for us to needs to accommodate, for example, the normal classrooms of 6 by 8 can accommodate a maximum of 20 learners. Any other space must respect the social distancing rules of 1 meter, 1.5 meter at all times. So what does that mean to private schools? We have to do a lot of investment to ensure that our facilities and the spaces can accommodate all that we have in our schools. So that's a major issue. And we are trying to find out ways and means through which we can support our schools in as far as this is concerned. We're also looking at infrastructural requirements needed to address COVID-19 challenges. When we get back as private schools, we will need to do a lot of infrastructure investments, especially on the wash facilities, water storage facilities, hand washing points at various strategic locations within the school compound, at the gates, at the outside classrooms, the dormitories, outside the dining halls, outside the washing facilities. We will need to do a lot of investment in as far as water is concerned. We also need to look at issues of safe and secure transport of learners and members of staff to school. What is it that we need to do? Schools may provide a conducive environment for management of COVID-19 within their premises. But if the children are coming in a compromised system, then whatever we are doing in school becomes a zero-sum game. So we want to invest a lot in education, capacity, various stakeholders involved in school transport. Those who are using organized transport, those who are using school transport, we want to ensure that they are safe as they come to school. And that, of course, will come at a cost. And therefore, we need to put our heads together to discuss ways and means through which we can ensure that our children are safe. Not to mention that even in our school transport, we must observe social distancing. Then we are looking at essential supplies for COVID-19 management in schools. When we open, as I've said, it will not be business as usual. We are going to have certain mandatory essential supplies that must be provided in school. We've talked about water. In as much as we had water before, but water for washing hands is a new normal. And therefore, we must invest in at least 5 liters per learner in school environment. for washing hands. That has to be provided, and children and any other person encouraged to ensure that they wash their hands every time they get to school, they get into class, they get out, they'll be washing their hands almost all the time. We're talking about thermogans, to ensure that schools get the thermogans. We will need to ensure that we check temperatures of anybody coming to school, our learners, time to time. Therefore, those are some of the essential supplies. Issues of sanitizers, the masks, and other PPEs, those will be essential. And this will come at a cost. And therefore, we are trying to find out how best can we enable our private schools access resources to be able to put these things in place. We're also talking about capacity building of our critical staff, the teaching staff and the non-teaching staff, because people need to understand that we are not going to operate as we've always operated before. We are going to have a new normal. And therefore, each and every person we must sensitize them and build their capacity to be able to apply and observe what needs to be done in order to manage COVID-19 in private schools. So we will need to also invest a lot of our resources in as far as capacity building is concerned. We're also talking about our health systems. What is it that needs to be done? Because this is a medical crisis. It is a health pandemic. What is it that needs to be done in as far as investing in healthcare provision is concerned? Schools will have to devise ways of either having a facility within the school with appropriate personnel, or getting linked to a facility within the neighborhood of the school so that they can be able to address emergencies if at all they occur. And this, of course, will also be a cost that private schools will need to incur and also prepare for. In all this, the last challenge, actually, number 8, as I conclude, is about funding of private schools in support of reopening preparedness. Of course, with the very many things that I've said that is required for management of COVID-19, private schools will need the support of everybody, all our partners, the people we've worked with before, the financial institutions, the governments, to support us in issues of taxation waivers and addressing policies that will see private schools also get support from government supplies and things like that. Needs of everyone in order to make sure that this is realized. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I wanted to prepare to present very briefly in as far as COVID-19 issues is concerned in private schools. Thank you very much. Sante. Yes, please.
Very good insights.
Yeah, so I don't know, because it seems like we've lost Moses. I think you're next on the plenary. I don't know whether you can start. Okay, he's back. Moses, hi. Sorry, we lost you for a minute or so.
The issues that perhaps you had asked you to raise in terms of the emerging, and more so share your global experience. What are you picking out there? I know you are talking to so many people out there, out of the country. You are talking to several locally. What is your experience out there? I think just share what can benefit the investors. So, karibu Sarah.
Thank you very much, Moses, for that. I'm looking for my presentation, and I hope you can see it. Peter has said a lot of things, and all those things are very important. There are some things that I wanted to say which Peter has already said, and therefore I will skip as I glide through my presentation. This is something about me. Basically, I've been strengthening SME value chains. like what we are doing today. We are customers of Cooperative Bank, some of us, and I hope most of us. So this is what I basically do, just trying to help, strengthen value chains in different, areas. I'm also an instructional designer, a trainer, a business mentor, and also a certified public accountant of Kenya. I'm not new in this space. Many of us who have engaged with me, we most probably met through this program. This is one of the programs that I have handled in the past, what we were calling the Schools Improvement Workshop. And this was basically a partnership between Kenya Private Schools Association. So Peter is a friend, together with many other secretariat officials and the school owners, who I can see, in terms of, the attendance. I can see you, and it's great to meet you again. So this is a partnership between Kenya Private Schools Association and IFC. And at some point, we also brought in, members of Kenya Independent Schools Association. The target group, just as Peter has said, the spectrum and the contribution that we all make in the space of education is actually quite significant, but it is also quite broad. So we were doing basically building your capacity as school owners and school managers. And I can see, in terms of participants, we have people joining us from different parts of the country. But these are some of the counties that were able to visit, building capacity in Machakos, Mombasa, Bomet, Narok, Kericho, Eldoret, Kisumu, Kisii, Nyamira. I can see we have somebody from Nyamira, and that's just that gives you an idea of some of the work that we did. Towards the end of the program, we brought in Kenya Independent Schools Association. There are quite a number of us, quite a number of them, but we were able to reach and touch 89 schools. And basically what we were doing was to help them to appreciate the value of audited accounts, and we're able to help them to prepare. So because as I've told you, I'm a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, we structured an arrangement. And I think we all know in the face of COVID that partnerships are the way to go. So this is just some of the work that we have done in the education sector. Now, as we know, we are all going through the COVID-19, and COVID-19 is something that nobody saw coming, but here it is with us. And there are so many things that have changed. We cannot even quite say that we understand how to do business. And these challenges are actually real, and they are changing shifts. Changing shifts in terms of behaviors, the way customers customers are generally behaving across the board, and that has changed business for us. It's no longer business as usual, it is now business unusual. And as you can see there, education is one of those areas that have been very hard hit because of the contribution that we make. I was looking at this report, which talks about the impact of COVID-19 on consumers and corporates in Kenya. And it was actually quite interesting to see that so much has changed. And in as much as the needs and behaviors of customers across the board has changed, in the area of knowledge, and this is where we are, our space is in the area of knowledge. That is one of those fields that is expanding. I like what Peter said. He said we have to position ourselves as school owners to reopen learning and not to reopen necessarily school, as we knew it. So I would just like to share with you some tips of how you can help position your business to be able to survive and to thrive during this COVID-19 period. And the first thing I want to focus on is that it is very important for you to understand the needs of your stakeholders and find a way of balancing those different needs. And when we think about stakeholders, that is you. That is the school. Your private school is right there in the middle. Now, something seems to have happened. I've lost. Can you hear me, Haggai?
Yes, Sarah, I can hear you, but I can't see your presentation has disappeared.
Okay, I don't know what seems to have happened. Let me look for it. Can we see?
Yes, it's back.
Yeah, so this is where we are. We are at the nerve center of basically what's going on the world over. So that is us. And we are surrounded by different stakeholders. Of course, we have investors. We have the management. We have the employees, the teachers that Peter was talking about. We also have our customers who are our parents and so on. We have suppliers and many other people who are interested in the business of the school. And these different stakeholders have different questions at the top of their mind. For example, anybody who has lent you, I heard Peter talking about the need to restructure some of those financial obligations that you had before COVID. Nobody saw COVID coming. Nobody saw COVID taking this long. And somehow we have to go through that. So anybody who has advanced money to your business, the $1 million question in their minds right now is, am I going to be able to recover that money? Management, will I be able to keep the business up and running? I have many friends in the education sector. And I like to speak to them, and I call them and I ask them, how are you navigating through COVID-19? And there's one I talked to, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? And he told me, he's in Kericho, he told me, we are just sitting. This is a very depressed, situation for us. I had to send my teachers, of course, schools closed, there are no workers. He was telling me the grass is, it's grown, it's unkept. I still have running costs. We don't know what to do. So the $1 million question here for management is, how can I keep this school up and running? And I know that, various ones of us we are trying in our own way to see how we can, go around that. Employees, your staff, the question they're asking is, am I going to get paid? And am I safe so that I can continue to do what I'm able to do to contribute to the education, sector as it is? So these are the questions that they're asking. And I think that's why Peter is saying that they went and explored 4 options. What can we really do? They engaged with, the experts, and they were able to get some advice around that. The customers, the parents, for schools and colleges, they're asking, are we going to be, safe? The suppliers, will you still continue to buy from us? I like what Peter said. The sector is so broad, the bookshops and so on. It's not just schools. As we know, there are quite a number of, people who have been affected. I used to drive around, Mombasa Road, and I would see school buses parked on, in the premises of Isuzu East Africa. They haven't been collected. Maybe it's a funding issue. Maybe it's an issue of, okay, if I remove the school bus, how is it going to help me at this time? Maybe it's better off if it stays, there. It could be safer than parking it in the school. Of course, there's also the government, Magoha, and everybody else. So basically what we're saying is that it's important for you to manage the expectations of your stakeholders. And in order for you to be able to effectively do that, you need to understand, what do they need? So for example, we have to face the fact that things have actually changed. Actually, the fence and the confines and borders of the school have actually been knocked down. And a school is all about service. We are in the service industry. So I know, of course, you have made very, significant investments in, the buildings and the classes and all those wonderful things you're doing. But I like what Peter said. He talked about reopening of learning. Why? Because school education, players in the education sector, it is a service that we are offering. And we are able to offer that service even if the schools are closed. So this is what we are calling business unusual. Having said that, of course, the spectrum of, education players is quite wide. There are the international schools, there's the 844, there are the local schools, there are the high cost schools, and so on. And I just want to share an example of somebody I called, and they said, they told me some of the things that they're doing. Because even before COVID-19, getting payments, because they're, these are members of KISA, and those are really low-end, schools where in some cases, school fees is paid on a daily basis. You come today, you pay your 100 shillings, you get the service, you go, tomorrow is another day, we'll cross the bridge when we reach it. And so I was asking him, what are some of the things that you are doing at this time? And when we talk about stakeholders, we know that, for example, the Kenya Private Schools Association is an important stakeholder. ISA is an important stakeholder, and we were always encouraging members to come on board, to join, to become a member, because there are certain advantages that you experience as a result of being a member. And so these are some of the things that this guy was telling me about, and he's a member in Kisumu, and he was telling me that because of course they have been affected. There's no income. They said, this is unlike, like many school owners have just gone into depression, into a state of hopelessness, where you say, since the gates are closed, what else can I do? But this guy told me that what they are doing is they made an intentional decision not to disconnect from the stakeholders. And they said, who are our stakeholders? Because as we all know, a school is a very important member of the community in which it operates. And so they said, look, even if we're not able to get income, what else can we do? And they told me these are some of the things they're doing. Number one, they got together as members of KISA, Isumu branch, and I got his permission to share this, this story with you. And what they did is, number one, 4 things they did. Number one, they got into a partnership. They identified a business person in the area, and they went and bought some items from him, highly discounted. They bought 1,500 bales of unga, 560 bales of sugar, 47 sacks of rice, 90 kilogram sacks. And they took these items and they distributed them in the community that they are operating in. Can you imagine? And not only that, they got a list of the most needy students in that area, and they agreed that every week these students would come and draw some provisions. Isn't that impact? I mean, is it all about money? Secondly, what they did is they got into a partnership with UNICEF, so that they can get food supplies and clothing. And they're getting those items and distributing them in the community. Remember that what you do during COVID, people will never ever forget how you handle them in the face of COVID. So don't forget your customers. Don't forget your bankers, your investors, and so on. It's important that you keep the communication channels open. The third partnership they did is they got into an arrangement with Nyando Social Service Center. And in this center, what they did is they discovered that in COVID-19, a lot of young girls were getting pregnant, early pregnancies, STD transmissions, and so on. He tells me that it is quite severe, it is serious. And so what they decided to do is to open up the school, the gates of the school, and to use the school as an outreach. And they have set up desks there. They have opened the school. They have told the community, if you have any challenge in this area, come and let's talk. And what they're doing is they are rehabilitating. They're talking to these girls. They're providing counseling, psychology, and so on, and then sharing their success stories and using these girls to transform the community at this particular time. Another thing those schools did is, of course, they realized that the teachers have been affected. And the teachers are very, very an integral part of the school. And of course, you want to keep your teachers even when school's open. And what they did is they went and negotiated with the Ministry of Devolution. They negotiated with them to engage the teachers in small jobs and contracts. And that way, they're able to keep this, the teachers, the economic livelihood are still up and running. There are many examples. Time fails me, but I need to go on. The big question, the big thing that I'm sending to you is identify the needs of the stakeholder. Keep those stakeholders in communication. As Peter has said, there may be, of course, we know that everything has changed in the business environment. Don't keep quiet about it. Reach out to the bank, talk to them, but reach out to your parents and talk to them. Of course, we have seen in the news a lot of things, going on. People, school owners and schools have been attempting, to do some e-learning and trying to charge, a price for that. And the question is, how much is enough? And I'm going to touch on that just a little in the next few minutes. So you need to keep those, stakeholder groups, you need to understand their need. I heard a school saying, we are charging this amount of money for online learning. And when the parents asked why is it so expensive? The school told the parents it is because we are cushioning our teachers. It is the truth, but you are telling that fact to the wrong person. Of course, you're cushioning your teachers, but you need to package your communications in each of these stakeholders in a way that is not repulsive, because the parents felt, okay, you want to cushion your teachers, but what about us? Who is cushioning us? So it's all about, we're saying there's a general expansion and an explosion of knowledge. And right now, people are looking for people who can add on knowledge to them. And I have some materials which I think I'll share with Moses, so that he can share with you guys what are the trends. People are saying we need knowledge. So the fact that you have tried, maybe it is because you didn't cost your service properly. It didn't make sense to that customer. And that's why I'm going to help you with a few more tips. Tip number 2, we are saying it is business unusual. Something has changed in the environment, and that thing is called COVID. Now, for example, if you had, like, for example, I love to cook. So I cook and I set up, my table with all the choice foods, and I have invited you, or my visitors, you have come over. And then there's, a sudden change in the weather and strong winds, and they upset the table that I want to, to use to set up my food. Would I still continue to set up the food that I have prepared on a table that is wobbly? No, it goes without saying. And what we are saying is, I need to do something. So I have invited you guys, you are guests, you are coming. I need to tackle that situation. And this is where I would have to be forced to get something to support the table. And that support is what we are calling a pivot. A pivot, egemeo kwa Kiswahili. So what are you doing to create some kind of support for your business? And this is where we are saying we need to again relook at our model, our business models in the way we are running the school. We are saying times are changing. And these are the words of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee says that the stiffest tree is most easily cracked. The one that is very stiff is very easy to crack. But the bamboo or the willow, it survives how? By bending with the wind. And so for you as a business person, you are running a school, and that's an important contribution that you're making. But are you bending with the wind? Or are you still set on this is the way we have always done business? What we're saying is that we need to adjust. And what we're saying is, I know and I respect the contributions that you have made in terms of, in the schooling sector. But what got you here yesterday may not necessarily get you into the future we are going. I mean, Peter said term dates have been thrown up into the air. Nobody knows. When are we going to open school? When are we going to resume? When are we going to continue paying our loans, and so on? How can we continue to run the school? And we're saying the way you had always done it does not necessarily guarantee how you're going to go into the future. And so you need to readjust your business model. And what are some of the things that you need to do? Maybe if I can give you some examples. Think about this product. What are these products that you're offering at the moment? And we are saying it is all about service. What are we offering? We are offering education. Education is what you're selling, not the structures in your school, because those ones, we can't access them. Really, doesn't matter. Sorry, with due respect, all those beautiful investments that you have in the school now do not make sense to us in the face of COVID. So basically what you need to do is to look at what are you trying to do to provide a service. And what is that service? Called education. Now, it can't be the way it used to do. I mean, like Fatma and I, we were also doing classroom training, but we have had to change and adjust our business models. We never thought there would be a day when we would be, actually just talking to the wall. And yet you are able to reach and touch so many people. As I can see, we are so many people in the room. So what we are saying is you need to be clear in your mind. What is the key service? What is a key product? And then what is an add-on service? So in as much as we are saying e-learning is not about spending the whole day on Zoom, on the screen and so on. What are some of the things that you can do differently? I was talking to one of you the other day, and she told me we are doing things differently. And that's what adjusting the business model is all about. And she told me that they are doing PE, physical education. Did you ever imagine you could do PE on the, and I asked her, I even thought I had misunderstood her, because many of us in the school business, we are crying. We're saying all is lost. We've come to the end of the road. But what we are saying is not yet. You have not come to the end of the road. You just need to expand or to shift your perspective so that you can see what you can do different. And she said, yeah, we put the gadgets there, and we move away. And the teacher gives us instructions. And we jump, we actually do a PE lesson. Maybe consider things like counseling. In the face of COVID-19, I was looking at this report, it was saying there are high rates of depression, anxiety, people just not knowing what to do. So when you look at your stakeholders, try to provide a service that will meet their need in that area. Then there's, of course, things like, competitions. I was like, what? You mean people are doing inter-school competitions? And the answer is yes. People are actually engaged in learning, but now it is learning, it is business unusual. I have seen people providing webinars, how can Form 4 parents deal with COVID and support their children in this era? How can we as parents deal with this whole, e-learning? Are you doing as a school to to protect your children, your stakeholders? What about teachers and so on? So there are many things that you can do. But the second one, diversification. This is something that we were talking about. Of course, you can diversify your products and so on. But the schools who are, being cushioned right now during COVID, even if you had, Peter said, there are some of us who have financial might and we can continue to pay the payroll, no problem. But that's unfortunately not where many of us are. An issue. That means alternative, income generation was key before COVID, but now it is even more critical. And the schools that are at least trying to, make strides, because right now it's all about cash. Can you put cash in your pocket or can't you? So now schools are saying, look, this food that we used to grow for the school to cut down, our costs in providing food for our, our population. How about shamba ni ile? So now you grow those crops and you sell. At least you're able to put something in your pocket. The farming, poultry farming, dairy farming. There were some people who have, some schools that have boreholes, and maybe you were selling water in the community. Those are now the schools which are thriving, because at least there's something, an alternative source of income to keep that, particular school going. So there are many things that you need to think about. Ile mbao, ile egemeo, that structure that is supporting your business. And you see, when you introduce a pivot, it can go either way. And sometimes people say there are risks, and I'll tell you, yes, there are risks, but you're better off trying to do something than not doing anything at all. Number 3, rethink your pricing strategy. This is now where we have been treated to drama, where we are seeing schools being taken to court. And it's so unfortunate when your stakeholders take you to court. Why? Because of a pricing issue. So when you're looking at, because you see, this is a product, this is a new product. We have never costed e-learning ever. We never even imagined that would arise. And that means that the rationale of how you price matters a lot. Make sure that you don't overprice until you block the vision of your school because of overpricing and the bad taste that it leaves in people's, but there is a justification on your pricing, and make sure that pricing, keeps you in business and is able to propel you. So I just want to share this little star with you of how you can, what are some of the things that you need to think about when you're pricing. The first thing you need to think about is, who is the customer? Who is my customer? Who am I targeting? And in the private schools sector, as I've said, the spectrum is so broad. There are customers who are a bit higher, there are some who are in the middle, there are some who are lower. But remember, that was before COVID-19. That customer who you thought had the financial ability, the weight, the might, they have been affected by COVID-19. So you need to, think about that customer. Will that customer be willing? Do they have and yes, there's a willingness to pay, but there's also the ability to pay. It's not just about e-learning. I mean, I have had cases where schools have fixed a price for e-learning, and they have told the parents, come and we'll teach your children. And for sure, the parents say, fine, as opposed to this child being in the house, you take them and teach them. But when it comes to the payment, the parents are saying, I can't afford. Lakini sikatai, nitakulipa when schools open. When a school is going to open, you need money so that you can pay those teachers and so on. So you need to, figure out who is that customer. Product features, just the product itself and the way it looks right now has changed. It's not just education. It's many, many other aspects to it. The different products and for example, when you do, digital competitions and so on, then you need to figure out who are my competitors. And previously, before COVID, you would look around the schools in the area where you operate, or maybe if you're a member of an association, you would look at yourselves and say, okay, that's my competition. But now the ball game has changed. It could be schools, yes, the ones you know of, but now there are other players, like Peter mentioned KICD. They are offering free virtual, classes. They are renowned teachers, So there's something that you must be giving in terms of a value proposition. That's what the parents need to understand. What is the value proposition? And has it been costed properly? And what else are other people doing? There's Edutopia, there's, Elimu TV, and so on. So you need to, consider that when you're fixing your price. You need to also consider the brand. You've been around for quite a while. You have, there's a certain perception that people have in their minds about what quality is. So in the face of COVID, you need to continue to sustain your brand. Don't let your brand go under. You need to continue to convince us. And remember that the brand is where? In the mind of the customer. So as long as you are able to convince me and you keep talking to me and you keep on, you want that relationship, I am with you for the long haul. And of course, you also need to consider the cost. So for example, I was asking somebody, how do you cost your e-learning? And she was telling me, you see, school is school. Nothing has changed. We have certain operating costs that we need to pay for to keep the school up and running. So what we did is we worked backwards, we looked at the costs, and then we said, so what price can we charge so that at least we are able, worst case scenario, to cover the costs. That's one way of looking at it. But another one is if you're able to push down your costs, like some of the strategies that Peter was talking about, it means that if you push your costs down, you'll be able to push your price slightly down, and you'll still have these customers who will work with you for the long haul. So what we are saying is that this crisis, of course, has greatly changed everything. So we need to look at the way that we do business. Tip number 4, which is the last one, financial management. Financial management is so critical at this time. I was talking to somebody beginning of April, and I think at that time, honestly, we didn't know what COVID was. I think we were in denial. We thought it was going to go away soon. And March seemed like, I mean, May seemed like such a long way, ahead, like into the horizon. And this person said, I am continuing business as usual, but if it reaches May and nothing has changed, actually I'm in ICU and I'm going to be dead by that time. But the thing is, you don't have to wait for that. May ilikuja na ikaenda. We are now, in July. So what we're saying is financial management is very, very important. Try and look for that extra shilling that you can put into your business. You see now, ukweli wa mambo, tunabembelezana. Unabembelezana na huyo customer, with that client, so that you can at least do something that can put something in your pocket. And then we are saying supplement that with other things that you can do to add on. So try and increase your cash inflow and try and control. Jaribu kufinya matumizi yako. And then of course there's also credit management. In fact, there's a misconception. Sometimes, people say, but the government said, go slow, don't list us, CRB and so on. Credit is not going anywhere. You have to manage it. It's really just a soft landing pad to help us to do better. So that brings me to the end of the key things that I wanted to talk to you about today. But I have a little bonus. Some ideas. Some of you, I think you need to think outside the box. This is an example. I have full permission from the owner to do this. And this is happening right now in the face of COVID. And I like this. Students, your workstation or your work, your desk, your work desk is perhaps the most important academic zone at the moment. So try and set it up in a perfect, try and give us ideas. And what they're basically asking is just record a little video and show us your workspace. And when I looked at this, I was so excited because the fact that students are not going out of the house, some of them even appear for online learning with uncombed hair, they haven't brushed their teeth and so on. And yet your workspace is such an important, part of your life, and you spend quite a lot of time there. So these are just some ideas to show you what people are doing. This is a Dawamu school, and I love this. It's a poetry contest, and the theme here is COVID-19. And there's some rules here. Write a poem. Should be in English, Kiswahili, or French. And there are some rules. It must be proper English, It has to be the original. I love this. Did you ever imagine that we would be having competitions in COVID-19? And these things are working. Another one, a talent competition. Dawamu, for example, has branded themselves as, being leaders, and these are just some ideas for you. Holding these webinars. This one, for example, was done by for fathers. So yes, I know you are targeting the student and of course the father because of the money that they're going to give. But what about that father? That father is so stressed out. So survival skills for, for fathering in COVID-19. And then there's also something there for the moms, managing technology at home. What are some of the things that you can do? So these are the additions. What I'm just trying to do is to open up your mind to see what other people are doing and something that will be useful to you. Remember how you behaved during COVID. We are not going to forget in a long, long time. One day, COVID will be behind us. It will have changed, reset the way we do things, but we won't forget the way you handled us. And that brings my presentation to an end. We've talked about, finances. And I want to hand over to Moses because I know that there's something that he wants to say as far as money matters are concerned. Peter said we need gadgets, we need access to internet, we need essential supplies, we need funding. There's so many needs. So I want to hand over to Peter and to Moses, and Moses will tell us what are some of the things that the bank can do to help you at this time. Moses, are you there? Over to you. Can anyone hear me? Fatma, Hagai?
Thank you, Sarah.
I hear you.
Okay. Karibu, Moses.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for those very good insights. I think it was worth investing in that session. I know we are running short of time, but I would want to share briefly in terms of the support now, the financial partner, your financial partner is offering to the education sector, the private schools, the support that the bank is offering. Hagai, if you can share my presentation. Hagai?
Yes, Moses, I am. Let me share.
If you could share my presentation. But as it comes up, let me just start by saying that the bank is committed in terms of supporting. Thank you, Hagai. Cooperative Bank is committed in terms of supporting the investors in the education sector. And next slide, Hagai. We have this kind of support, the commitment that I would want to make for schools. Number one, we would want to support you in terms of additional funding. And I had Peter talking about the need for additional funding. I make that commitment for the schools that as a bank we are committed to support you in any needs that require additional funding. The second item is that what Peter raised about restructures and repayment holiday. I know we had started with 3 months, and I know we communicated that, but things have changed. Even as at yesterday, we had I don't know whether to call them term dates, Peter, now, or what to call them, but the term dates have changed. I think we will still revisit in terms of the support, because as a bank, we committed to support in terms of restructuring and the repayment holiday for those who are borrowing from us. The third and very critical item is the relationship management. And this is critical to say each and every customer in cooperative bank, especially the MSMEs or the private schools, you have a relationship manager. The commitment that you are making is that our relationship manager, our branch managers, wherever you are, will be in contact with you just to help you in terms of understanding these things. So we'll hear us calling you more, and I know you have reached out to several of you. You'll hear us calling you more. We'll hear us engaging you more, just to give that commitment that will support you and understanding the dynamics. Whatever comes up, please share it with your relationship manager, with your branch manager. The fourth support item is the information, and for this is this kind of webinars that we are facilitating. I think as a bank we are committed to continuously facilitate this, organize, give information. It's available also in our website, available in the MSME portal that is out there, and also communicating through social media. But more important is what you are doing now, the one-on-one discussion on this kind of a webinar. Just to highlight is to say, as a bank and as a responsible corporate citizen, we did donate about 100 million to the government kitty just to help in purchase of ventilators. I think we are among the first institutions to do that. Hagai, if you could go to the next. Yes. What specific support then am I offering schools as a cooperative bank? And this one, I think, is tailor-made for schools, right? Private schools, tailor-made for you in terms of the support. Number one is what we call, we have what we call an unsecured term loans or facilities. And for this, we have a new product which is given to help pay salaries, meet your salary payments, so that you can be able to retain and maintain your staff. You have a facility that we're offering as a bank. I mean, a maximum of 4 million. That's the time maybe before before the change of dates came yesterday. But I'm inviting new people to enjoy this facility. It's a maximum of 1 million per month. So anybody with a salary spend of about 1 million, I think you per month, you have that solution, and we'll wait until you get into collecting your school fees before we come to ask for you for repayments. You have that is quite critical in terms of now for you to support your talents, the employees that you have as an investor. And I heard Peter Doro talking about 288,000 employees. I think as a bank, we are saying we are committed to help you support them in terms of paying their net salaries. The second item is unsecured loan for education institutions, and this again, this has been there as a bank, but what we are saying, it can help you in renovations, minor repairs. Sometimes if there is food stuff and even operating expenses. But I think this period, I heard Peter talk about it's no longer normal. I think that some of us require some expanded space. Some of us require to invest in water. I think I heard Peter talk about that. So as a bank, you are committed up to, we have a facility of up to 5 million that whose duration is 75 days, and it will help you in terms of now making those kind of adjustments that perhaps you need to make in the infrastructure of your school. So as a bank, we are willing to support. So anybody who is there and has such a need, please see your branch manager, see your relationship manager. Next slide, Hagai. We have what we call tailor-made solutions for asset finance. This one I will not emphasize a lot, but because I know it's there, we already supporting a number of you, and we've signed a number of schemes with the key motor vehicle dealers in the country. All those ones is put up there: Isuzu East Africa, Simba Corporation, Sifao, that is a formerly Toyota Kenya, and even Crown Motors for Nissan, and that is Nissan Kenya. And we're supporting that in terms of now helping you acquire or expand your transport infrastructure. I think of importance is then how are we what solutions then do we have as a bank in terms of supporting us in paying in number one, lending, transactions, and even the payment. And the key one is the transactions. I know a number of us may not have as much transactions as they used to have, but whatever you have current accounts that will help you in terms of that. You have the payment solutions, the M collection that you help in terms of collection of fees, COP online, all those solutions out there in terms of helping you as a school to access your account, and even pay out your salary, pay out your suppliers in this era of social distancing and all those things. You have merchants and even termination and refund and pesa. I think of importance now is how we support in terms of the lending solutions. And just as I shared, we have what we call unsecured facilities, overdrafts and even term loans, mortgage in terms of construction. This could be the period. Is it the time perhaps you need to expand, to increase the crisis? Is it the time you need to do something? And more importantly, is how then do you also support your employees? We have a facility that supports these who have an account with cooperative bank through the phone, what you call the e-credit. And I think this pass will help you get the burden out of yourself. The advances that you give maybe in mid-month, the emergencies that come out from your employees, that can be catered also very well by the bank. And I would want you to pass that to the bank for those employees operating a core bank account. Just pass that to the bank in terms of the e-credit facilities, because at this time pass, some of them will be coming for advances. Some of them will have emergencies. We have a facility that will support them. And we have supported several. I may not say the number. We have supported a number of them in terms of accessing that facility. So remove that burden out of yourself and pass it on to your financial partner. That's the commitment that I would give. Next slide, Hagai, so that I allow time for questions. So in summary, what is my call to action to the investors here? My call to action, which is very simple. I would want you to raise any short-term and long-term funding needs with your relationship managers and the branch managers. I know most of you are in our branches. I've seen people from Rodua, people from Bigori, all over the country. Basically, I would request you to raise any short-term or long-term needs. Just as I said, I may not have covered what past your needs, but talk to your relationship manager, talk to your branch manager. They will be able to come up with something for you. And as a bank, you are committed to supporting the other investors in the education sector. I think the second request is engage your relationship managers on the branch manager for more information. So if there is any other information that perhaps you require, we'll be sharing, including the materials that you've gone through today, the presentation by Sarah, the presentation by Peter. We'll be sharing that, and just we'll pick it from your branch managers. For those who have given us the email addresses, we'll send through your email addresses. And I think the third one is to share, to ask you to register for payment solutions, because this is a time now you need to collect through. Nobody is paying cash. Nobody is collecting cash. I think very few, even as a bank, you are receiving very little cash now. So people are using alternative channels. So register and collection, register Okop online, so that it helps in terms of collecting and transacting even into the future. And I think my last point is to say, let's keep close to the relationship manager and also the branch manager, and update them on any emerging issues in your schools. Anything that is coming up, as I said, any support that you want, any information that you want, and those people will be able to support you. And I think the last one is asking us to keep safe. So thank you so much. I would want to open this session to questions and answer, rather to be an interactive question and answer session. Hagai? I know you may have some questions on YouTube. You may have some questions that have come through. Feel free now to throw to any of us, any of the presenters on board, Sarah, Peter, and myself.
Yes, many thanks, Moses. As I filter through the YouTube chat box, I know Fatma or Sarah is also managing WebEx. So one question that I recall, Peter, Moses, a client was asking whether CoBank is willing to support development of online materials. Over to you, Moses, as I look for any other question.
To support of development of online materials.
Yes, online materials to support e-learning.
Support e-learning. A good question. As we proceed, maybe I'll answer that as we proceed. Hagai, ask the next one. Will be what? What is the next question?
Fatma, Sarah, did you pick any?
Thank you, Hagai, and thank you, Banandumia. We actually don't have questions per se. What we do have is a lot of people appreciating the very, very informative session. In fact, I have one here from.
Where are we going to have questions?
Oh, please put the questions on the chat box and we will pick them up.
Oh, okay.
Write them in the chat box. What I have here from Faustino Diambo is to say, thanks, Sarah, for that great presentation. I love the engagement part of the kids bonus. I also like Sylvester Safari telling us this is very good and informative discussion. We've asked people to put a key learning, which has not happened at the moment. I also got from Sylvester Safari saying, thanks, Sarah. Today's discussion has been a learning point for me and my staff. We as an institution and what we can do during this time of crisis. So basically, people are saying they love the presentation. They love the fact that both Sarah as well as Ndoro, you have given them very, very insightful information which they need to work on. In fact, Charles says that, thank you for the informative presentations. thinking about all stakeholders and not just students and school fees is a wake-up call. So thank you, and thank you also for using the Kisumu example. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Fatma, for that. I think there's somebody who was trying to ask a question. Maybe if she can be allowed to unmute her microphone and ask. I wasn't able.
That's fine. She
It
can
is me who
unmute.
wanted to ask a question
Okay.
to Sarah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can
go.
hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Mark. I wanted to ask a question to Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, hello, hi, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, Magdalene. Yes, I wanted to ask Sarah. I heard her talking about auditing, the schools in auditing. I would want to know how she can assist me. Yeah. And actually, I can speak right now. I know we are desperate, crying for help. Because when we open school right now, we don't know where the children are. And when we open, I know there is going to be problem in discipline problems on the land. Also, can she be able to identify advisory services on financial, how to deal with our finances, especially as I have said in auditing? Thank you.
Many thanks, Magdalene. Sarah, that's yours. Maybe one last question, Moses, from YouTube. It's more of a comment. A client was saying probably you may want to have a dedicated SME desk and potentially empower branches to make more decisions at the branch level to expedite TAT. Sarah, would you want to go first, or Moses?
Sure, I can go. So thank you so much, Magdalene, for that question that you have asked. And we see the need. The need is actually there. And thank you for the good work that you're doing in Mukuru. And sometimes because we are so focused on, that passion that's driving us to business. And I know that as school owners, this is a big challenge, just trying to juggle everything, providing that education, making a difference in the community. And sometimes some of this management aspects actually come into the to the fore, and they are actually very important, and that's why we have professionals and so on. But we identified that need when we were doing this program, the school improvements program that I've just talked about, where we were trying to help members of Kenya Private Schools Association, and also trying to help members of KISA. But however, that project came to an end, but the need is still there. So my advice to you, Magdalene, is number one, make sure that you are a member of an association. That's very important, because this service we provided was actually for free for the beneficiaries. Why was it free? Because they just happened to be a member of the association. So in fact, if COVID has taught us anything, it's about identifying who those key people are to you, your networks, and making sure that you manage them, that you warm them, because you never know. That's number one. Number two, because of number two, I believe I had Moses saying that part of what they are doing to reach out and help you as customers, and I know we also have people in the webinar who are not necessarily COP customers, but I heard him saying that they are putting together non-financial services, this kind of webinars. Magdalene, stay on the lookout. And when you hear, because we are doing a lot of capacity building right now, because we know that you need it. So when you get those invitations inviting you for a webinar, don't even take a second, don't think about it twice. If you're available, share it, make sure you log on like what you've done today, and tunasaidiana kwa hii safari. So please keep your ears open, to what's going on and plug in. And then thirdly, I think we have had your request. There's so much going on at the moment. There's social distancing and so on, but it doesn't mean that it cannot be done. So find your place within the association, become a member, engage. When you hear that there are webinars, just go in and you might learn a few things that can help you right now. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Magdalene, I think let me start with Magdalene. Further to what Sarah has said, as a bank, I would want you also to...
Hello?
Magdalene, further to what Sarah
Yes.
has said, as a bank, I would
Yeah.
also want to say that get in contact with your relationship manager, the branch manager, the person that invited you on this call, so that they can give you further advice in terms of what support they can offer. So get in touch with the relationship manager and your branch manager, the branch you're operating in. Now, coming back to the second question, the issue of the support on online programs. Yes, let me admit, as a bank, we've not thought through. I'll pick that as a thought in terms of how do we support the development of online training materials. I think about that. This is part of the journey, and that's a kind of feedback that perhaps we value in terms of what we have received as a feedback. So I commit, we'll navigate through to see how we can support in development of online material. The issue of that issue, which I think came out of Peter's presentation, and I think it's important to highlight, is the issue of insurance, about the idle assets, the idle motor vehicles now, the investments that you have made, and as a school, on school buses, you have paid past insurance for a year. Through our partner CIC, we have a solution called Raid Up Motor Vehicle Cover. Raid Up Motor Vehicle Cover, and for those who have motor vehicles invested, rather insured through Cooperative Bank and CIC, I would want you to see your branch manager, the relationship manager. They will offer you that solution, or perhaps advise you on that solution. Raid Up Motor Vehicle. I don't want to give a lot of details on it, but it's there available in our branches, and you'll ask them to support you. So please see your branch manager or the relationship manager. Ask them about the Raid Up Motor Vehicle Cover, a cover that we have between ourselves and our insurance partner CIC. I think the last one is on the issue of the dedicated SME desk to empower, the request that we empower branches. I received that feedback, very good in terms of empowering of our our branches in terms of expediting TAT. I agree, and we could continuously empower them. That's very good feedback received. I commit to continuously empower my team so that they can give they can address the issues of TAT first. So thank you so much.
Moses, many thanks for your response. There are a few more questions coming through YouTube.
Yes.
One is around the interest rate. So our client is asking, what rates should we expect the bank to charge on these facilities during COVID? The other question is around the tenor. A client is asking, so, I mean, given the COVID situation, revenues are affected. Should we expect more stretched repayment tenors?
Yes.
And interestingly, a client is asking, so yes, you're offering a lot of goodies, but how do you expect these monies to be repaid now that we are not earning any income during the period?
Exactly. Thank you.
Over to you.
Very good questions, Haggai. And let me start with the last one. How do you expect this money to be repaid? And I think one thing is to say, we have committed to say until the schools get back to operations, And that's why even the restructures that you've done, you said until schools get back to operations. And as I said, is a support until you get back to your footing in terms of school fees questions. I know a number of us have alternative sources of income, and I think, and I've seen a number. Actually, there are a number of us who are still paying because they have alternative sources of income. So if you also have a source of repayment, you can still repay. As if there is that support, we'll support you and you continuously repay. But for those who are completely out of income, you are saying we'll wait for what? For the time you start correcting, the business gets back to normal. In terms of the tenure, and that I'll answer. I'll combine that with the restructure. Earlier on in my presentation, I talked about restructuring our facilities. By restructuring, I think let me just clarify what a restructure is. A restructure is we are number one, extending the tenure. To say, perhaps you are paying this loan in 3 years, and you've come and said, based on how the situation now, I would want to extend maybe to another 6 months, or an additional 6 months, an additional 12 months. So that is basically how you are addressing the tenure. So if you are, I don't know how it turns out now that the school terms may change, but we're willing to support even extending. I know a number of schools have come. I can see a number of them here. We have asked for repayment. We have suspended that payment up to January next year. We have a number. Majority had suspended up to September, but if we are completely out of income, if whatever came out yesterday continue is a situation, Peter, we are willing to support you to extend up that rather to hold up to January. Interest rates, we are a regulated institution by central bank, and our rates are the market rates. We current at, I think, 12.8%. And I know, looking at the government efforts, the central bank efforts, I think a lot of it has gone in terms of lowering the rates. And whatever, if the rates change to the lower, we lower, even for the existing facilities. So the interest rates, I say, we are a regulated institution by the market. Thank you, Haggai. I think those are the 3 questions that came through.
Yes, many thanks. Sarah, Fatma, any additions? I know we've gone over time.
To be honest, Banandumia has already spoken about, because the questions we have are all around the cost of credit, and I believe he's taken that question. So we are good. Thank you.
There's a question I see here. What do you have? This is directed to Peter. Kenya Private Schools Association CEO. Do you have plans to have a collective savings plan or SACCO arrangements where members can borrow at affordable rates?
Yes, thank you very much. I see that question, and I want to mention that some of our members within the different branches across the country have SACCOs that they have already formed and is currently operational. But at the same time, the KPSA national office is in discussions to find out how best can we reorganize ourselves and ensure that we have a dependable system that is able to accommodate and offer affordable credit to our members. So that discussion is perfectly within the head office, and it is being discussed. And as soon as it is done, now that COVID-19 is here and has taught us quite a number of things, it's a discussion that has to be expedited. There is a plan for that. But currently, as we speak, we have SACCOs within the Kenya Private Schools Association in different branches across the country that operate SACCOs within the branches. Thank you.
Haggai, I don't know whether there is any other question, or maybe at this juncture I would want to say that we'll share the presentation. We'll also come back for feedback through emails, and there is a link that we'll provide. Is it provided? We'll share a link that perhaps you can give feedback, and it will be important to tell us maybe what other kind of discussions we want to enter into, what other stakeholders would you want to bring in. Today we brought the Kenya Private School Association. What other what other participants would you want us to bring in maybe into the next sessions that we'll be arranging? Our commitment as a bank is that we'll continuously hold more. They are not only to schools, we have several others. And I see a number of other business people around on the call. So please continue joining us. And as Sarah said, this is the only way to learn from each other, to share experiences, and also get that feedback for all of us. So thank you so much, Hagai and team.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
many thanks, Moses. I think any additional questions shall be handled directly in the interest of time. So many thanks to you all for making time to attend and for participating and interacting during this webinar. Again, as Moses has said, we encourage you to participate in the upcoming webinars, and the bank would advise you on the date and time. Many thanks. Sarah, anything, or we close it at?
I just want to say thank you to all our participants for finding the time to come on board, and I'm sure that you have picked something that will help you, and we wish you all the very best as you navigate through COVID. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Kenya Private Schools Association, I want to appreciate CoBank for organizing this webinar. It has been very informative, and I want to confirm that we want to have more and more of this, discussing different topics. We really appreciate and don't take it for granted. Thank you very much. And for our members, thank you very much for participating in this webinar. Thanks.
Okay, many thanks to you all. Please feel free to leave at will, and enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Kwaheri.
Very